Welcome, everyone. This is the second webinar of the year from the risk management team at Berkley Industrial Comp. Today, we are going to be discussing portable ladder safety. And just a reminder, this July will be our third webinar of the year. It'll be on motor vehicles. I'm Dave Rapicetta. I am a member of the risk management team with Berkley Industrial Comp. The territory that I cover includes the state of Pennsylvania, all of New England, everything above New York State, Delaware, and Washington, D.C. Also, being a co-moderator of this webinar today will be Colin Wicker.
Hi, I'm Colin Wicker. I'm also a part of the risk management team with Berkley Industrial Comp. My territory includes Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida. So the South and Southeast territories. Me and my colleague Dave will be going through the seminar on ladder safety, and I'll turn it back to him to get started.
Thank you, Colin. Falls are the leading cause of death in construction, accounting for 389 of 1,034 construction fatalities in 2024, according to OSHA data. Ladders are a major contributor to fall incidents, with 22,710 non-fatal workplace injuries involving ladders and 161 ladder-related workplace fatalities reported in the most consolidated data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Over 600 workers across all industries died from falls in 2024, reinforcing falls as one of the most serious and preventable workplace hazards. OSHA consistently lists fall protection and ladder safety among its most frequently cited violations, highlighting ongoing compliance and training gaps. OSHA data confirms that ladder-related injuries arise from a wide range of workplace tasks, including maintenance, construction, and service operations. Falls, particularly from ladders, continue to be one of the leading causes of serious injury and death in the workplace, making ladder safety and fall prevention a critical focus for employees. Falls continue to be one of the leading causes of serious injuries and fatalities across many industries, not just construction. Most fall incidents are predictable and preventable with proper training, equipment selection, and worker awareness. Ladder-related falls often result in severe injuries such as fractures, head injuries, and long-term disability. The purpose of OSHA's National Fall Prevention Stand-Down, which occurred during the week of March 8th this year, is designed to pause normal workplace activities and refocus attention on fall hazards. It encourages open conversations between supervisors and employees about job site fall risk. The goal is to reinforce safe work practices before an incident occurs, not after. Portable ladders are a frequent source of fall incidents because they are often viewed as simple tools. Many ladder injuries occur during routine duration tasks where workers may rush or skip precautions. Common contributing factors include improper selection of ladders, poor setup, overreaching, and unsafe climbing behavior. We want to focus areas of training for proper ladder selection. It's important to choose the right ladder type, height, and duty rated for the job. You want to avoid making solutions or using ladders outside of the intended purpose. Correct ladder setup and use. You want to ensure ladders are placed on stable surfaces and set at the correct angle. You want to make sure you're verifying ladders are in good condition before use by doing an inspection of the ladder. With safe climbing and positioning, you want to maintain 3 points of contact at all times. You want to ensure you're keeping your body center between the rails and avoiding overreach. And you want to climb slowly and deliberately with no shortcuts. As you can see from these pictures on this slide, we're going to talk about improper ladder setup or angle, ladders not secured or stabilized, standing on the top step or top cap of an A-frame ladder, overreaching or leaning outside the ladder rails, and working from a ladder or uneven or unstable surfaces. You want to always set your ladders on firm, level surfaces. You want to use extra caution around uneven ground, wet or slippery conditions, and you have to take wind into consideration when working from ladders. Using the wrong ladder for the task or height can cause a problem. You want to make sure you keep your ladders clear of high traffic areas. That's where vehicles or pedestrians could be. You want to make sure that doorways or entrances are protected with a barricade if you're working with a ladder in those areas. You want to never use a metal ladder near energized electrical equipment, and you want to maintain safe clearance from overhead power lines when working from ladders. Maintaining 3 points of contact at all times. 2 hands and 1 foot or 2 feet and 1 hand should be in contact with the ladder at all times. This improves balance and reduces the chance of slips or sudden loss of control. You want to face the ladder when climbing. You always climb and descend facing the rungs, not sideways or backward. You want to descend slowly and deliberately. Never jump off a ladder. You want to keep your body centered. You want to stay between the side rails with your belt buckle, your torso facing the ladder. You want to avoid leaning or reaching outside the rails. This is a leading cause of ladder falls. Do not overreach. If you can't reach to work comfortably, climb down and reposition the ladder. Overreaching shifts your center of gravity and can cause the ladder to tip or slide. You want to climb with purpose. You don't want to be rushing. You want to move one step at a time, ensuring each foot is secure before shifting weight. Many ladder falls occur when the workers rush or become distracted. Do not carry any items when going up or down a ladder. Always use another method, for transporting whatever you have to carry up or down the ladder. It's important to use appropriate footwear. You want to make sure that you have slip-resistant footwear that provides a good traction on ladder rungs. You want to make sure no mud, oil, or wet soles because that can significantly increase a slip risk. And you want to know where to stand. Never stand on the top step or rung of a step ladder. And you want to follow the manufacturer's labels that are on the ladders for safe standing heights. So the key message we want to enforce here are ladders don't fail, positioning does. Most ladder falls happen because equipment failure, not because of unsafe climbing habits or poor body positioning. Taking a few extra seconds to climb and position yourself correctly can prevent serious injury.
And to build on what Dave was mentioning about, body position, climbing, and choosing the right ladder, all of those aspects are important. And you can have the perfect method and have the ladder in the perfect place. But if you have any sort of defect or damage to the ladder, all of those things can become null and void when it comes to avoiding an injury or incident when climbing or using that ladder in an industrial workplace. That's why making sure that the ladders you use in your sites or on your job or even at home are not damaged, especially after long periods of storage or if they've had some heavy use, wear, and tear during the best season or work period. So when you want to install a ladder, you want to make sure to inspect it and ensure that the manufacturer's recommendations for inspections are being followed as well. And when you have that type of inspection, that can prevent having injuries occur because that ladder isn't working as designed. When you are climbing a ladder on a site that also has been put up by someone else, you don't want to always trust without looking a ladder that you're about to put your full body support on It's good to give some sort of visual inspection. It's fairly easy to see most parts of a ladder, especially from the ground, before you get on that ladder and go up or down to reach a certain level, because some damage could have occurred during the workday or since the ladder was positioned if it's been there for a long time. So even if a ladder isn't damaged, there's certain things that you want to check before climbing if you have a certain situation that could be important. One of those things is the duty rating. The duty rating for a ladder is always going to be on the manufacturer label. If a manufacturer label has worn off or isn't visible, then you want to make sure that that is replaced or that information is still available so that they can be accessed. But that duty rating can be important if you're climbing a ladder and have things like tools or different types of equipment on that could cause your weight while climbing or descending to change. Usually, a rating system for ladders is universal. Common ladder types are usually designated by a type 3, 2, 1, or 1A. Type 3 is a light duty ladder. Type 2 is a medium duty. Type 1 is heavy duty. And if you see type 1A or type 1AA, that can mean an extra heavy duty ladder. So those are things to look out for. In addition, there are things you can do with a perfectly non-damaged ladder and using safe climbing practices that can still cause incidents or hazards. And that includes how you place the ladder. Placing it somewhere that is not ideal for the job being done or can introduce extra hazards just from its location or the environment around it can be a big aspect in whether or not an incident will occur. Here are some examples that really do well to indicate some of those things that might be happening. That first ladder on the left seems pretty innocuous for a normal job site, but if you pay attention closely, it's right in the middle of a walkway that could be commonly used by other people, workers in the area, people that may not be as focused. They may be looking at a clipboard or something down or up in their hands while walking and bump into that ladder while you may be on it or into somebody else. In addition, its placement next to that guardrail and stairwell could mean a possibility of a fall leading to an even bigger injury by falling further down into that. So when you want to place these ladders, you want to be aware of the environment, even if you're using safe climbing position and the ladder itself has been verified to have no damage or defects. In addition, Dave mentioned earlier that selection of a ladder is very important. You'll see in that second picture, the worker is using the incorrect ladder for the type of job. He's using an A-frame ladder, but he's leaning it up against a wall and using the rungs as he would an extension ladder or similar. This is going to be really hard to get the perfect angle with, and that type of ladder is not designed for that type of work. So it's going to be much more easy to tip over. It's not meant to be supported in that kind of way. And so even with a safe climbing position, you're going to end up risking a lot more injuries or incidents if you're not using the correct ladder. It's always worth it to invest in the right one or find the right one, especially when it comes to low duty or size or environment. You'll see that third diagram is a great simple example of the types of ladder angles that a ladder being put up in an area could have that would make it harder to do the job safely. It's easy for people to put the wrong angle because it may feel right, but that doesn't mean that it is the correct angle. And each person might put up a ladder differently based on their own training and their own feeling about it. So if you have a ladder that's too far, you have a much bigger risk of it falling down out beneath you, and it can make it harder to climb, and the weight distribution can be uneven. It can additionally be uneven if it's too steep, and this can be a lot more risk of it tipping over or it being pushed to the side and you falling off. The last picture on the right, while it does seem comical, is a good example of a non-defective ladder that someone could use safe climbing position on, but the way that it's been placed means that there's no support under all four legs. And you always want support under all four legs or two legs that is even and stable for ladder use, because the ladder support is the foundation for both the weight of the ladder and the weight of you while you're on it. So this ladder would not be safe to climb, even though it looks correct. And while this is a somewhat preposterous example, there's a reason this photo was taken of this ladder. And many of us have seen similar photos of ladders in fairly preposterous places. So when you're trying to put up a ladder, there are some quick rules that you can use that are great for making sure that you can verify a ladder is put up correctly. for either designing a ladder entrance or exit to a location, or for just climbing a ladder in the middle of a workplace. For the design of putting a ladder up, there's a quick and easy rule called the 4-to-1 rule, which you can calculate with any sort of distance. So if you have a very tall, even or shorter version of distance that you need to reach with an extension ladder, is what this is designed for, to maintain the proper angle and to make sure that you have enough landing at the top. You can use a simple rule where every 4 feet of ladder, there should be at least 1 foot of distance between the structure or wall that you're trying to reach. So if it isn't an overhang, you'd want to calculate that from the edge of the overhang that the ladder is touching. Now, this is, of course, in conjunction with the previous things about proper footing, but this is a great way to get that quick angle check if you're designing or making sure that you have the correct ladder size before you even go to either purchase, rent, or go to a job site. That way you can ensure you're not having to go and find a new ladder. An example, if you had a 20-foot high structure or place to reach, that would be divided by 4 and make sure you'd want that 5 feet out. So that would be a great way. You just measure 5 feet from the structure, place it, put it up to the landing or wherever you're trying to reach, and you know that that's going to be a safe angle. The other rule, the 3-foot rule, which many people have probably heard of if they've used ladders in an industrial setting, but is a very, very important rule for any ladder use, especially the extension ladders where this is designed, is to make sure that you have a minimum of 3 feet above the access point where the ladder is laying in order to make a safe landing onto or off of the ladder when you are climbing the ladder. This is really important because one of the most dangerous parts of working on or using a ladder is getting off and on of the ladder when you're at that height point. You can do more than 3 feet, of course, and this can be even more helpful depending on the work that you're in, as long as you're not obstructing or creating a new hazard, if it's not in the way or making the ladder unstable to have that much up there. So you'd want to make sure to calculate this when designing any sort of ladder entrance or purchasing a ladder for a job to ensure that you have at least minimum of 3 feet. Otherwise, if you just end up having it too short of a ladder, you're out of luck and you need to find one that's correct for the job before an injury could occur. Ladders that are too short could have a lot of bad risks involved. Slips during mounting or dismounting and losing balance can cause you to fall all the way down or fall and slip and hurt yourself, and also cause that ladder to possibly even slip out from under you, and now you're stuck up very high with no way to get down. One thing that's also very important is to make sure that you make that ladder secure using any sort of wire tie or securement method. If you can make sure to do that in a workplace, then you can make sure that anytime a ladder could have tipped from bad climbing position or bad placement or other factors that you can't control, such as wind, then you can prevent that from having it tied and secured. And that is something that should always be done when possible to make sure that that ladder stays under your feet. One of the last things that's a really helpful rule is the angle check. And this is really helpful for those that have a ladder on their workplace or entering a workplace. The ladder's already been there for a while. You can't verify how long it's been there, and you aren't the one to put it there. This is a 1 to 2 second way to check that it's got a proper angle to support you. By doing that, you can stand, as this picture shows, with your feet at the rungs of the ladder, put your arms out, stand upright, and extend your arms with your elbows straight. If you're able to comfortably put your palms at those rungs at shoulder height, then that angle is sufficient. If you end up having it reach to your elbows or you cannot reach it, that's a really great way to show that that ladder is at an incorrect angle and can either be too steep or too far placed. This is just a very simple way of using the human body to calculate that 4-to-1 rule, and can be done almost in half a second right before you climb. If you can find that angle is wrong, that's when you need to point that out and have it fixed before you end up climbing that ladder. Remember, you want to make sure to use those rules to be safe. So, key takeaways from this whole seminar with a combination of what me and Dave have emphasized. We always want to choose the right ladder for the task and height when we're starting a job that involves using a ladder. Maintaining that 3 points of contact and avoiding overreaching can help keep yourself safe while climbing or descending a ladder. Always make sure to check the duty rating and the ladder condition before use so you don't set yourself up for failure. And that includes also verifying that a ladder is still in working condition if it needs to remain there for a long time, or if you are taking it down after a day of use. Proper setup matters. The footing of the ladder, the angle of the ladder, the ways that you can check those before use are very useful to make sure that we don't have injuries occur from that ladder fall. Those rules can be the 4-to-1 rule or just doing the quick angle check and then following that 3-foot rule when making sure you want to have a landing at the top of a ladder. Securing and stabilizing those ladders is always a good idea. And when you can do that, that can really make the ladder a lot safer and prevent it from shifting or wobbling too much when climbing, which makes it a lot more easier to climb, especially in an efficient manner during a job site. So, any questions here, you're welcome to put those, and we would love those people that can do some feedback with our QR code. And if you have any further questions about risk management, we also have a website that you can reach for further information.